This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action, and you're listening to the Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast, presented by the Southgate Media Group.
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Krypton Report Pod can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Skype, YouTube, and Instagram.
And if you want to drop us a line, send it to kryptonreportpod@gmail.com.
We are on Patreon under Southgate Media Group.
And our official merch page is tpublic.com. Search Krypton Report.
Now on with the show.
All right, welcome to the Krypton Report. It is I, your host, the Superman in Blue, Tyler, and with me as always, the other half, the force of good, the Red Almighty, Mr. James Cole. Welcome, James.
What's up, Tyler?
All right, so today is special, man. Like, I'm pumped because years ago, when this show first started, we pitched the idea of the Krypton Report. All right, we're going to talk about Supergirl and then the other super show that was on the horizon, which was Krypton. And for the longest time, we had kind of this ongoing joke because it was like, all right, any news on the Krypton front? Nothing. And then we got like, oh, there's a trailer.
None.
Oh, there's a cast. And I mean, for the longest time, we would just kind of joke because, you know, they talked about Krypton. Geez, I mean, it had started, just to put this in perspective, Krypton was being discussed at the same time Gotham was. Okay? Man of Steel came out in 2013, and Krypton was going to be, you know, a prequel series to Man of Steel. Gotham premiered in the fall of 14. And Supergirl premiered the fall of 14, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, right? No. Supergirl premiered the fall of 15.
Yes.
Okay. And it wasn't until 2018 that we got the first season of Krypton. So just, you know, and now here we are, the second season of Krypton has started as Gotham has ended its 5-year run. Just kind of putting some things in perspective. So we are here to talk the premiere episode of Krypton Season 2. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it. And here we go. I'm going to give you guys a ready. Pause the episode. Go watch Krypton and come back. We'll wait. We're back. Okay. So just, you know, my brother-in-law is hanging out here with us, and he's catching up because he doesn't have DC Universe. So he's catching up on shows. We've rewatched Titans. We rewatched Young Justice Season 3. He's watching Swamp Thing with me. So Krypton's the next up. And I told him, I said, you know, Krypton's good. Season 1, I think it took a little bit to find its footing, just because we do know that it had meant to be a more closely tied to Man of Steel directly. And then they redid it. They decided to make it more of a Superman prequel-esque show and not just the Man of Steel-based show that they initially were going to do. So I think with that, they had to retool some things, and that's why it's, I think, a little rocky getting started. So anyone who hasn't watched Krypton should.
Absolutely. Yeah. First season, it took a couple episodes, but I think by season 5, it totally found its, or season 5, episode 5, it totally found its footing and was off to the races. It was pretty good.
Exactly. And that's why
it was a pretty good second half to the first season, and it's only 10 episodes, so it's not like it's
yeah. I mean, it's entertaining enough to, even if you're just like, it's not going to be like, man, I wasted my life. You're going to be like, that's okay. Or you're going to be like, that was the greatest thing, you know? Because at first, I even with Janita had to be like, hey, you got to kind of watch this, give it a moment. And she did, and she came around, So I say that just because I think season 2 is going to be killer. I mean, just James' reaction just from this, like, before, no details, just how did it feel watching this episode?
Well, awesome to be back to see these characters and the anticipation of, the characters we knew coming. I mean, there's Brainiac, Doomsday. They announced Lobo, and we've got General Zod. It's a lot of big name villains to contend with. So,
and I'll tell you what,
I was really, really anticipating, and I love the design, the production design of this show. So, great.
I agree. I am also a huge fan of the design. I've said it before. I love how they blended the look of the Christopher Reeve era Superman films as well with the Man of Steel. I think it was a perfect blend of the two to kind of show that Krypton is this more vast and large world than what we've thought in previous iterations. So that has made it enjoyable just as a Superman fan, period. Now,
yeah. You go back to the Reeve 78 Superman. It was like there was one place on the entire planet of Krypton that was populated, and then Man of Steel, they definitely made it seem like it was much more expansive. So, in this, you've got a populated world.
And I agree. So let me see. So let's think. With that, okay, that's one of the strengths I feel that Krypton has. Is it makes us feel. It makes it feel big. For once, I feel like I'm actually in the world of Krypton because there's so much going on. So let's get into it. We're going to dig into the episode now and get into some spoilers, some thoughts, and we'll start with season 2, episode number 1. All right. And the title of this episode is, because I actually forgot to write this down. Man, I'm slacking. I have a whole page of notes in front of me, and I totally forgot to write down the episode title.
Well, what the heck? Anyways, it's called Light Years from Home.
Thank you. That's why James is my co-host. Always got my back. Light Years from Home. All right. So 6 months have passed since the end of Krypton season 1. And I always think 6 months is like the perfect kind of like time jump. Like it's enough time for us to be like, oh yeah, some time. But not enough for us to be like, wow, that's a lot of empty space to tell a story.
Right.
So, I mean, how do you feel about 6 months?
Yeah, I think it's good. It's not too far. There's enough time in 6 months for plenty of things to have changed for people to be in some place and then in some place new, as well as a place to pick up where the story is original again.
Right. And I think that's the key right there. It gives us just enough time to start something without us being really like, man, that doesn't make sense. Like just yesterday, man, they weren't even doing anything, and now look at them. And it leaves us with enough time to be like, man, what's happened to our characters? So
yeah, which in this episode we definitely can say that.
So, all right. So we'll start here on my note. So we find out, my notes are a little kind of spacious, but Adam Strange, when we left him, he was kind of in a weird spot. We weren't exactly sure where he was, but we found out he went home to Earth, and Zod has conquered Earth. General Drew Zod. Let's make sure we're gonna try to. It's so easy to just say Zod, but now Zod's
a family.
Yeah,
there's Drew, there's Lyta, and there's Jaina.
Yeah, we can't just be like, oh, Zod did this. We have like Drew Zod. So yeah, it's kind of a big step for talking about Zod. You know, actually having to clarify which Zod you're talking about. It's kind of weird. So Drew Zod, okay, we learn has conquered Earth. And I made a question mark here. There's no sign of Superman. Okay?
Nope. Well, as we know at the end of the season 1, the L symbol changed on the back of the cape, on the back of Superman's cape to the Zod House symbol.
Yeah.
So,
and
no Superman.
I do want to make a stance that it is kind of weird that Drew is very open that he's a man from the future, and nobody has a problem with this. Like, you know, he's ruling Krypton, and nobody's like, future man. So, here's another question I'm going to propose to you. Is Lyta pregnant, or has she already copied the DNA of Seg to make Drew? Because we saw how kind of Corvex was made, okay? With both of them kind of injecting their DNA in a machine, okay?
Yeah, he was made from the Codex type, the artificial reproduction that Kryptonians have been using for generations.
So it makes me like, is Seg's DNA just on file and then they just match up Seg, L, Lyta, Zod, boom? Or is something else going on? Because with Seg being banished to the Phantom Zone, wouldn't that put Drew at risk? Now, I'm going to try to use time travel logic like the Flash. Okay? Because the Flash is DC. Okay? We're not going to get into this. Ain't no end game where we don't know what's going on with time. Okay? So we're going to try to use some logic similar to the way they work on the Flash TV series and comics, because that's keeping it in the DC realm, where we're a little bit more comfortable with our what the heck's going on stuff. Cool?
It sounds good to me.
So we see we see that, oh, hey, while we're talking, just side note here, I just won a bid on eBay for a Rebirth Superman action figure. Yay.
Oh, excellent.
Yay me.
Icon?
Yeah, I'll take a picture and send it to you. Yeah.
Here the Icon line?
I think so.
Cool.
Anyways, continuing on. See, this is the show. You never know what's going to happen. It's live. I really want Adam Strange to get his suit, because I really feel like he is junk right now. I don't feel like Adam Strange is contributing to anything. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as the episode goes, we into spoilers now?
Yeah, we're in spoilers. We jumped over that wall. Yeah, my bad. Woo!
Okay. Yeah, as it goes in this episode, he comes back to Krypton because Zod has conquered Earth, and his hometown of Detroit has been snagged up and bottled by Brainiac.
Detroit. Sorry.
So everybody, yeah. Well, he did say it was his hometown, so it was Detroit. I was hoping it was going to be like Cleveland, where Superman was created, but
why would it not
what are you going to do?
Why would it not be? Come on.
Yeah. So they I'm not sure how he escaped. I don't recall how he got out of there,
they
but
don't say.
Yeah.
And this is going to bring us back to something later on. Okay.
He does have his Zeta beam device, and that's how he gets back to Krypton, and then he does use it to locate Seg somehow. I think he's trying to get to him in the Phantom Zone, but lo and behold, he has made it out of there. But he does use it to go get him. So at this moment, like, yeah, in the end of the first season, besides risking himself to save them from Ona exploding and killing them, they haven't seen him since. So, I mean, he was kind of just there for the most part in season 1 until he, sacrificed himself but survived. So yeah, where he is now.
So I'm gonna pause on Adam Strange for a moment, and we'll get back to him because I have a theory / idea about him. So we'll come back to Adam.
One thing about Adam in this episode, real quick, before you move on, he has an obsession with getting a safe word established.
Yeah.
In this episode, he brings it up a couple of times. I laughed really hard at both times.
Well, when Jax Ur saved him, and it took me a minute to realize it was her, she looked straight out of the animated series. Do you remember the episode in the animated series of Superman where it's Jax Ur, and I cannot remember the woman's name because they were Kryptonian villains, but they couldn't use like Zod or Ursa or Feora. Yeah. So
she looks like the woman, but then she's also got like the eye patch of sorts, like the guy. So
yeah, I was like, wow. I'm like, she's named after the dude, but looks like the woman. I'm like, this is pretty sweet. Like, I love little callbacks to things like that.
Yeah, that's one thing about this show is they make it a point to like pull from every iteration of Superman that's out there. They want to pull from the comics. They want to pull from the old movies. They want to pull from the new movies. They want to pull from TV. They want to pull from animation. That's great.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it makes the story of Superman feel inclusive and not like, oh, this version's better or this version's better, or we don't recognize this. We recognize everything.
Which kind of puts to rest the hashtag not my Superman for everybody.
Right. Like that still bothers me, man. It's like people are just so opinionated. Like even if you give them exactly what they want, they're going to complain about it. And how many times have we talked about like people like they wanted more Chris style Superman. We get Superman Returns. People complained about that. And then they gave us the antithesis of that. We got Man of Steel. People complain about that. Like, everyone just wants to complain. I just try to find the good in everything and just enjoy life. It's a lot.
Yep, and then people want to talk about they enjoy these deconstruction projects of superheroes, but then you get that with Man of Steel and BVS, and then like people complain about it, and then they turn around and want to kind of do something else with Justice League, and then they complain about that. So can't never make anybody happy.
So what we've learned, nobody's happy ever about anything.
Besides us.
I mean, we're happy. We just try to be. We're not happy there ain't no Man of Steel 2, or there's like all this like rumored this movie's coming, rumored this movie's in development. You know what? There's a difference between being in development and actually happening. Okay, so
yes. There's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference of us not being happy because something doesn't exist than never being happy with what we actually get.
Yep. That is wise wisdom, people, from James. So, quick note, Doomsday is missing. Nobody knows where Doomsday is. The people that released Doomsday don't know where he is because we get to see an interrogation scene of Lyta with one of the survivors of that group, and Lyta's not very nice anymore.
No, she is not.
I'm like, she's going full on evil, which, okay. All right, I guess, that's where they want to go with her. Okay.
Maybe yeah, and in that scene, like, she walks out of the reconditioning chamber.
Yep.
And they have got a horde of reconditioning chamber. You just hear people screaming, like, this is a thing that's going on now.
And
it's like forcing people's compliance with the rule of Zod.
Right. And I mean, anytime you have to force somebody, like, you're not really making them better. Like, if someone doesn't accept something on their own volition, like, it's not even worth doing. But, we're talking about egotistical maniacs here. So,
yeah,
we got that.
The 6-month jump is pretty cool, just to show the fact, because the clothing is different this season than it was last season. The cities are a little different, a little step towards one direction, because there's less segregation, as it were. Zod freed the rankless from being like the low class of society to try and make more people equal. So that's kind of like the equality is kind of expanded around. So the rankless living area doesn't look just run down and like they're living in filth anymore. Everything kind of looks more cohesive.
Which, I mean, is extremely smart if you're Zod.
Yeah.
I mean, it is extremely smart to do that because now you've just won favor. You've won, you are changing the world to be better and everybody's on your side,
Yeah.
Well, the poor, which, in most cases outnumber the well-to-do. So in this case, he's just, done well by himself by getting the mass majority on his side. And not everybody's happy with it, but what are they going to do about it, He's got the military and everything on his side, so nobody's going to be able to
sorry, you were talking about Doomsday. I've kind of actually got this episode playing on in the background. So
no, you're fine because we needed
something new. I pick out. I might just like blurt it out like I did.
So we know that Doomsday killed all the people that were kind of guarding his chamber, and the last member of that group is being reconditioned by Lyta. So we were getting there. We were in there, and we know that Doomsday is missing. So he is the one person I was like looking forward to this episode to see because I wanted to share that with my son, who, as everybody knows and listens, is obsessed with Doomsday.
Right. See, the thing I'm curious with about this version of Doomsday is,
will he talk?
It's an unstoppable killing. We know Doomsday is an unstoppable killing machine. He can't be killed. We know as fans, that he can be killed, but he's more immortal. He will return and can't be killed the same way again. I'm curious as to this version of Doomsday. Like, is this Doomsday not like the all-powerful Doomsday that Superman faced off against? Is this Doomsday has to be killed and come back stronger before it becomes that Doomsday? Because otherwise, 6 months, he would have leveled the entire planet.
Right. Zod makes a comment about using the Doomsday as planets that won't bow to him. They'll just drop Doomsday in and let it go to work.
Mm-hmm. Let it annihilate everybody without losing a single Kryptonian life.
Okay. Now, I just recently read Hunter Prey, which kind of tells the origin of Doomsday. and it shows how, you know, unlike in Smallville, where Doomsday was like killed and then that same body regenerated and came back. In Hunter Prey, they did it where, however he died, they actually had to physical clone and regrow Doomsday.
Yeah, they started. Some people are like, I don't know about his origin. I don't like his origin, this or that. I thought it was pretty cool.
I like that it's cool. I don't like that he's Kryptonian. I think that's too like on the nose. Like, it was a Kryptonian thing. I mean, it makes sense though, for why he could, you know, he was a killing machine, but also if he is Kryptonian, you could say with the bones and everything that he is, that maybe, you know,
right. See the thing
were in him. I don't know. He
right.
Off radiation.
See, the thing is, I'm not. Yeah, the thing is that it's not like wholly explained, because I think that everybody in that lab is alien to the planet. At that point,
yes,
Krypton is. At that point, Krypton is just a harsh wasteland of dangerous, violent creatures. So they go to that planet because it's so harsh, and they force evolve this infant, whatever race this infant is. They throw it out to the land and let it kill. Then they take genetic material, clone it, and they do this over and over and over and over again over the entire lifespan of Bertrand, who's the scientist. They do that over and over and over again, and force evolve the infant to become the ultimate survivor. Not particularly the ultimate killing machine, but the ultimate survivor. But the memory in the genetic code of just being ripped to shreds over and over and over again is what pushed it to that violent killing machine part.
Exactly.
So
couldn't have said it better. This is why
I have the Superman Doomsday Omnibus. It's every story with Doomsday after the death of Superman.
Oh yeah, the fifth volume of the thick thing that we were kind of collecting together at the same time. Like,
yeah.
I need to buy. I have 3, 4, and 5.
That actually is like a new print, and it's got like Hunter Prey and something else. But the Omnibus has got Hunter Prey, a story with Imperious Rex, something else where it was like, I don't know, Joker gassed, where Doomsday was Joker gassed or something.
That's creepy and scary.
Yeah. So, it was actually, I bought it years ago. Probably over 10 years ago now.
I bought it. I'm going to probably buy it again one day, because I'll probably just end up giving it to Solomon because he's so obsessed with Doomsday. It scares me.
Right. An entire book full of Doomsday.
He's like, Daddy, Doomsday comic. And then he asked me, he's like, Daddy, is there any more Doomsday movies or anything? I'm like, no, buddy, Daddy's pretty much trying to find everything for you.
Right.
But
the interesting thing about Krypton and Doomsday is Doomsday actually went around the entire planet and killed every living thing on the planet. So he like wiped out all of those dangerous creatures, which allowed Krypton to evolve further to where there was Kryptonians. But he got off of the planet with a dropship, a supply dropship.
I find that, like, it's one of those things, like, I find it super fascinating that because of this killing machine, that planet was able to flourish. But at the same time, I find it, like, horrible that because of this killing machine, like, he's Kryptonian, and then it's like, oh, that's how Superman died, was because of a Kryptonian. So, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, you know what I'm saying? But it's just one of those, like, things.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's they tried to give a origin story for just a rampaging monster. So,
and you know, it's one of those things where you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? You know, do we want to give an origin for this. Because I feel
Right.
like, I don't know, some things like, you know, that was when they did, what was that great movie? The Dark Knight. You know, they talked about giving the Joker his backstory. Did we want to do that? Like, did they want to give him this story because does it take something away? And in a way, I'm like, yeah, the mystery of what is it, who is it type thing. But anyways, we digress. Let's get back in here.
Yes.
This is the debate that will raise in my mind forever right now. Is Corvex Jor-El or Zor-El? Or a whole new character? Because I keep wondering why Nyssa, you know, who's denouncing like her father and finding out all this stuff about her origin, still wants her son to be called Corvex when the rank list and all that's changing to where Seg is like reestablishing himself as the L.
Well, yeah, I mean, Zod even says that Seg-El is his father and that Seg sacrificed himself for Krypton. Like, Seg-El is a hero. So now, like, the L name is synonymous with you know, the survival of Krypton.
And why is he Drew Zod and not Drew L? Like, this is going to, like, this is,
You're overthinking it.
I know. That's my problem. Like, I even have it in my notes, like, all right, shouldn't Nyssa be Nyssa Darren Vex? Like, because we go back to the Lara Lorvan and the Kara Zor-El, okay?
Yeah.
But then we get into it and we have just Lyta Zod.
Well, it's like, do we call you Jonathan Tyler Patrick, or
yes, we do.
You know, do people call you Tyler or Tyler Patrick, or
but women have, like, my daughter should be technically Selah Jonathan Patrick. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, and then Solomon would just be Solomon Patrick,
right?
But
or people don't call me James Robert Cole; they call me James Cole.
Exactly. So that's one of those like nitpicks I'm going to have with how the naming of females go, because it always seems like is
you were curious about that back in season 1. Go
exactly.
listen to our season 1 episodes.
It seems like females always have their father's name, and don't adopt a name if they are paired. Because Lara was never Lara L. It was always Lara, the Lady Lara, or referred to as Lara Lorvan. So it seems like only sons inherit the father's name, which is kind of is different. So it's kind of interesting, you know. If you think,
well, it sounds like the children inherit the father's name, male or female.
But I mean,
as paired, they don't lose their family name,
right? Like, you know, Kara, if she married somebody, like, she'd still be Kara Zor-El. She wouldn't be Kara whoever.
Right.
So you know, if like, for example, Zor-El had a daughter, okay, Kara Zor-El. Then if Kara has a child with Dev M, that son would be an M. There wouldn't be a carry-on of the L on that side.
Right.
Unless Zor had a son. So it's just interesting. But you know what? I promise after this right now, I swear I will not pick that anymore. I'm done. I will let this go and just enjoy the show. So let's get to our hero, Mr. Seg. He's been in the Phantom Zone for about 6 months with the Sunstone that he's never thought to use before.
Well, I mean, did he even really know what it was capable of?
Exactly. What was Seg? What knowledge did he bring to this, you know, the Phantom Zone? Like, and of course I find the Phantom Zone really cool in this. You know?
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome.
One thing was like how they did the Phantom Zone in Smallville. It was like a portal to a desolate land, which was always kind of neat, just because it was like, you know. And then the idea was that the blood of someone from the House of El was like a backdoor to escape.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Smallville version of the Phantom Zone was there were people who were sentenced there whose like spirit was sentenced there. They were sent there and their bodies destroyed. So like they had no physical form in that plane, but there were others that were just imprisoned there in a physical body. So it could be either or.
Which is neat because that's where they because they refer to them as phantoms.
Yeah.
So just more knowledge we're just spewing here at you for those who haven't watched Smallville.
Yeah, the Phantom Zone looks pretty awesome in this, though. The colors, the vortexes, the phantoms, as it were, like people and things in places outside of time in the past and the future.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a place you could go mad in.
Yeah, and that's
not John Madden, mad in.
So now, with that, we're going to say Seg escapes. He sees Val, who says, "I'm a projection of your mind," and escapes the Phantom Zone with the Sunstone. Okay. Now,
a projection of his mind, though, would kind of think that he had the knowledge of how to get out of there in the first place. So that's kind of a little dumb on his part, I think.
Right, but that's
moving on.
I'm going to give him the 6 months
to where it is.
The 6 months of madness is kind of where I'm going to be like, all right, Seg. Okay.
Right.
Now we find out that it wasn't Val, it was Brainiac. So him and Brainiac are now freed, and they're on Colu.
Brainiac's home world, Colu.
Which looks a lot like the woods of Vancouver. Because I watch a lot of CW shows, and those woods look similar to woods I've seen before.
Well, they film in London, so or somewhere around there. So
I'm just saying that's what it looks like, but it could be wrong.
Hey, it could be stock footage with added special effects in the background, because it looks like cities and things like that have been like overgrown.
Now, here's my first question for you, James. All right, so how do I say this? Is Seg really out of the Phantom Zone? Because it could be Brainiac playing with his mind. And we'll loop back around here in a minute with one of the things that throws this off. One, Seg's on another planet under a yellow sun. Shouldn't he have powers? Start to develop powers?
Is it a yellow sun?
But it's not a red sun.
It's not a red sun.
Right. So,
but
Superman,
it could be a blue sun, and Kryptonians have no power under a blue sun either.
True, but does it look blue? It does not.
Wow.
So that's okay. So that's one. Two. So we get this moment of Seg and Brainiac, and Seg decides he's going to go all primal and fight Brainiac. Okay. Then cut to since we're in this section, we're going to talk about it. Cut to Adam Strange shows up there with his Zeta beam. Okay.
One question I have before we get to Adam Strange: when they first get on the planet, and one of the first times before it cuts to commercial, there is a device that starts alerting, and it says shithead. What is it? Shithead.
Yeah.
Or detected.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But it keeps saying shithead is detected. Is that? I am thinking something that says something like that is for Lobo, but
I agree.
Who and what is he looking for, or why is it on a planet that has been eradicated of intelligent life?
Yes.
I don't know.
And I agree with you. And also, talking with my great pal, Mr. Phil Parrish, shout out to Phil, we love you. Capes and Lunatics, Phil Parrish, he's the man. One, there was a lot of uses of the word shit in this episode. Okay? And I didn't think about it when I first watched it, but then I did. It's like, yeah, there is. Two, for anyone who's out there wondering why they're talking English, using English vernacular, I like to believe in my headcanon that because Adam Strange and everything's filtered through a translator, so they're actually speaking Kryptonian, but to us, it translates to English so we can enjoy it. That's my headcanon, okay?
Yeah, they're like canon somewhat as to why everybody has an accent and Strange doesn't, is because he's not Kryptonian. The accent comes from their language as opposed to, a accent from another part of the world.
Exactly. So we're just throwing that out there so we can all feel like we're harmonious. But yeah, I took it as Lobo. Maybe we'll get in the next episode. But I say all that because when Adam Strange shows up there with Seg, we see Brainiac's dead body with his head bashed in, and Seg looks crazy, and something just feels off to me. Either A, it's not really Adam. Okay, it's all in Seg's head. B, Seg is been infected with Brainiac, and Brainiac's living inside Seg or something. I don't know. Something feels really off to me. But Seg and Adam have this rendezvous, and then Lobo shows up.
Yeah. The only thing, there is something that seems like it could be something in his head. The only thing that makes me think it's not is the way that they focused on Adam when he arrived, and then when he walked to find Seg, and Seg was kind of out of it, so it kind of made it, seem like that was actually happening to Adam.
Yeah, like I said, just something.
But the Brainiac thing, Brainiac always survives. This we know. So that body of Brainiac is dead, but he's not gone. I pretty much guarantee that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Something just feels off about that. But since we're kind of keeping with characters here, Seg being our character, Lobo arrives, and you know what? I'm not a Lobo fan. Like if they do a Lobo spinoff show, like they've talked about, I'll try it just because I'm a fan of DC Comics and want to support everything. Just like I'm going to watch Pennyworth. But I don't know. To me, the guy playing Lobo looks okay, but Lobo to me, he always is supposed to be like a big dude. Like big, really muscular. This guy looks good, but he still doesn't look like.
Yeah. And just tangent real quick. Did you see the full trailer for Pennyworth?
No, because I wanted to watch it with Jania, and we just haven't had a chance to.
Okay. Well, whatever being another prequel show, the trailer actually looks like the show could be quite compelling. But
I mean, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it should be a very interesting espionage type show. Mm-hmm. It does look really good in that respect. That I have to give it. With it being a Alfred show, I mean, whatever. It's a name. It's a character with a past that you don't really know a past from. Mm-hmm. So, but as an espionage show, the trailer does actually look pretty compelling. And I'm not excited about the show, but that trailer makes the show look like it would be good.
See? Once again, this is why James is around.
I saw it on DC Daily.
Like I said, I'm in on it. I mean, I'll give it a shot. It's just nice that was a show like, oh, hey, they're looking at developing this show. And it's been like, what, a year ago that was said, and it premieres next month. Like it's like, oh, something actually was talked about and happened.
Oh yeah, well,
but, with Lobo, he looks fine. He's just not. I don't know, like the way I would picture Lobo. I would think they'd want somebody bigger, more muscular, and he sounds Australian.
Well, the guy's Irish.
Maybe that's what it was.
The guy who plays him is Irish. I think the different accent is also to differentiate him as another race as well. Him being Zarnian, but he looks like Lobo. I mean, the clothes, the hair, the white skin, and the black around his eyes, the weapons. He looks like Lobo. So that's one thing. And the guy is kind of tall, but he's not like a bodybuilder. But I mean, not very many bodybuilders are actors.
No, that's why I have said before, if I ever, if they ever did a Bane, like a new Bane, just get a really big dude, keep the mask on him, and then get an actor to do the vocals.
Right. Which could work. I haven't read very much Lobo. My Lobo comes from mostly animation and stuff like that. And the guy's attitude seems fitting.
Yeah, I mean, he seems fine. Like, I'm just saying, like, he's just not as big as you think. Now, here's a little trivia for you. The guy playing Lobo has also done another character for DC.
Jim Corrigan in the Constantine series.
Yep. Interesting, huh?
Yeah. Yep. The guy who was supposed to lead into the Spectre.
Yep.
Which would have been pretty amazing.
Yeah. But so we get
that's a violent character.
And Lobo, he only shows up at the end, and it's teased mainly for next week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us back around. Okay. Now it brings us to the other part where Adam, we said before, was discovered by Jax-Ur and led to the Resistance, is where Nyssa came back. We see Nyssa has been very busy, like, with Val. And I think Nyssa's coming out to be like a character that I really like a lot more. Because she started off not being like, they're giving her a really good arc in a fast time. While at first we really liked Lyta, she's going dark. And this is actually where I'm like starting to root for her. Like, I thought at first I was going to be kind of torn between, all right, who's it going to be? Nyssa or Lyta for Seg? Now I'm like, I'm on the Nyssa train.
Yeah. Yeah, Lyta's definitely got a dark streak going on in her. Part of it comes from Seg being gone. Like she's manipulated by Druzad, her son, as well as Seg being almost a moral compass in her life is gone. But that means that she's not a very good person if he's not around. So, whereas, Nyssa, she was guided by her father to be manipulative and cunning and dark. Whereas then she met Seg and the light came out of her, and now she's more on that path.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely interesting how they both, just from Seg's interaction, how they both have converged and gone in opposite directions. Actually, like cross paths and went one way and the other went the other way.
It is compelling. And Seg needs to watch what he does. He's making kids left and right here.
guess they don't. I guess when you artificially create children, birth control is not a very big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Side note, just as we do this, I just want to point this out. Kal-El is Val-El's great grandson. Just wanted to throw that out there because I was keeping my lineage stuff written down. So we learn that Druzad and Lyta have a plan to sniff out the Resistance. The Resistance is trying to move their location to the planet Wythor. Is that pronounced right?
That sounds right.
They kept saying
Wythor. Wythor.
And they kept saying it quickly, and I couldn't keep up. I was like, hold on.
Yeah, it was like quick, and it was low.
I was like, Wythor? Like, what? What are you guys talking about?
Yeah. It's a moon. It's a moon, one of Krypton's moons.
So the Resistance, they're going to flush it out, and Lyta says she has a plan.
And it's like a mining colony.
So we learned that Korvax is being held by basically a nanny. And Nyssa has gone on and found her father, who has survived. And we get a quick history that Darren Vex was not Darren Vex. So it seemed like he assumed her mother. He married her mother, rewrote his history, and used her mother to rise. And that her mom, I guess he took her name? Is that what you got from this?
Yeah.
So he took,
because he was from another city-state called Bokos,
right?
Which is where she found him, cleaning out sewage tunnels.
And she is like having her little identity crisis, in the fact of trying to figure out. We found out she is basically a clone, and that was something they were doing, was cloning Kryptonians elite, so basically making them immortal. And she is having a heck of a time. Just
identity crisis is right. She doesn't know who she is now that she's a clone,
and
she wants to know how much of her is what she used to be.
And as she's saying this to Darren, boom, his head gets blown off by Lyta. And we find out that it was Lyta who basically baited her out there. And then it cuts to we find out that the nanny was used and gave up the location of Val-El and Jax-Ur. And we see that Korvax is now in the hands of Druzad. So that's some pretty intense stuff that happens right there.
Yeah, Mama Zed, who was the one who raised, what's his friend's name?
Rest in peace.
From last season.
Yep.
He's not dead.
I thought he died with
he joined the Sagittari at the end of the first season.
Oh, okay. For some reason,
because Ona died.
I thought he died with Ona's explosion.
No.
Well, by the time we talk about the next episode, I will have rewatched the first season. It's been on my to-do list, but I hadn't had a chance. But with my brother-in-law here, he wants to watch it, so guess what? I'm going to power through it with him.
So, but yeah, the woman who raised Seg's friend who owned the bar, which I'm kind of mad I can't remember his name offhand, but she's the one who gives the tip that lures Nyssa out, and she leads the Sagittari to Van and Jax-Ur and Adam Strange, where they're hiding out.
Yeah.
And they blast her in the back, so she's dead too.
Yep.
But Adam escapes with his Zeta beam device, and that's where he ends up on Kolu with Seg, and Jax-Ur and Val escape through a artificial wall.
Yep.
and they are heading to the moon, to the Resistance.
While Druzad holds Corvex, begging Nyssa to give them up, or he's going to raise him as his child, which is, being raised by your brother. Okay. All right. So here's one thing I'm going to pose to you about time travel and all this. Krypton's still going to explode. That's the feeling that I get, because the way Zod is all about leaving Krypton and expanding. Like, the planet's still going to explode, and I wonder if that has to happen, or if Krypton doesn't explode, it'll change all of history, so Zod never left to come back, kind of thing.
Right.
So that's just something to kind of think about, like, Krypton's still destined to explode, but we don't exactly know how or why, it's always been like, Krypton's planet was having issues from mining, or it became unsettled, or the sun exploded, destroying the planet. And in the recent comics, now they're trying to say Rogol-Zar destroyed Krypton. So we don't know which way they're going to go with Krypton's destruction here. So it's kind of interesting. It's just something I'm keeping in the back of my mind.
All right. Well, what, they had said in the first season that it was the taking of Kandor that destabilized the planet. But then at that point, it's like it took 200 years for it to deteriorate and explode. I mean, on a planetary scale, who knows? But
and I mean, they altered that. Even though he was taking Kandor, they screwed all that up.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I'm just keeping my ear out, keeping my mind kind of opened to how things will happen.
Right. Well, basically, they're in a new timeline now, so it gives them the freedom to do pretty much anything they want.
True.
So, I mean,
this is true. All right.
Yeah.
So before our heads explode with trying to unravel the mysteries of time travel, what would you rate this episode?
I liked it. It was really good. It was a strong start to the season. We got to see Brainiac, Zod, and Lobo. A discussion of Doomsday, which gets you thinking. Good bit of humor. Interesting character paths. I give this an 8.5. A strong start to the second season.
I was just going to give it an 8, but 8.5 does sound good.
Maybe because I'm a little more of an anti-hero fan, and the way that Lobo was portrayed, the guy's portrayal of Lobo, his actions, his mannerisms, it's really nice. He seems like he's strong. The character of Lobo, he blasts Adam with a stun gun type thing and knocks him out. But then Seg charges him, and he just hits him, and not like wails on him. He like jabs him and knocks him out and sends him flying. Mm-hmm. And then he chains them both up and is dragging them off without any sort of effort put into it. So he's a strong character. Which is per the course. He's not like Kryptonian, where he needs certain conditions to be strong. He always is. But then he's funny. the way he's talking, and he's like, I'm Lobo, and he's acting like a crowd is cheering for him, and then he talks and he's like, reason one or question one, and he gives the middle finger first, and then number two, then he puts up his index finger. So It's just funny, interesting character.
It is.
So that gives it a 0.5 point for me.
All right. Gonna go with that. I'm gonna let that 0.5 point slide.
All right.
All right. So that wraps up. We got a special episode coming up here soon. So keep listening to everybody. And remember, James is always right.
Well, when you argue the right way, you're always right.
Mm-hmm.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Krypton Report. You can also email us at kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. If you get a chance to go over to iTunes, please leave us a review to help us get better. If you're an Amazon shopper, just remember you can go to southgatemediagroup.com. There's a portal, log into Amazon, and you'll shop into your account just regular, but it also helps keep all the podcasts on and helps keep Southgate running. Remember, look up in the sky.